My best friend is losing his battle with addiction, and to be honest, I don't care. I know the title sounds awful, but let me provide a little bit of background. My best friend, we'll call him A, has been my best friend since we were in grade school. We're now 36 and 37. For our younger years and even all the way through high school, and for years after, we were inseparable. We worked the same jobs, got apartments right next to each other. His family is my family. We had the same interests, the same taste in girls, same recreational choices, literally exact mirrors of each other, until he met a guy that didn't fit our regular group. We'll refer to this guy as S. At first, I figured this was a person who would disappear as fast as he came up, and for me, he did. But for A, he continued to text and set up times to meet at bars and go out. I didn't care. I personally didn't like the guy, but if A was being a friend to him, then whatever. It truly did not affect me, until it did, in the most unfortunate way. A started missing work, started not coming home for days at a time. I knew because he was my next door neighbor. Family members showed up at his apartment, then would knock on my door because they haven't heard from him in a while. Unfortunately, neither had I. His car wasn't there for days at a time, and when he would finally come home, he would say stuff like, "Oh, me and S were out camping in the mountains and doing plumbing work for the people who have cabins." At first I took his word for what it was, until he lost his job because of these mountain camping trips. After he lost his job, he came home and asked me if I could make some dinner because he was broke and didn't have any cash to buy any food. No problem, bro. Come on over. The knock on the door sounded different. A was a guy who had heavy hands, strong hands. Dude was able to crush a walnut shell with his bare hands. No joke. When I answered the door, I immediately noticed he was different. He was thin, like scary thin. This was the beginning of his addiction journey. His drug of choice was introduced as Suboxone. He struggled hard with it for years, and I was always the friend that supported him through everything, never enabling, but always there for him when he needed it. It's been 13 years, off and on, 13 years of his addiction to H. A was sober for 6 years. Then he became extremely distant again. We all knew it was happening again. Then last year, he was arrested and spent 4 months in jail, then 5 months in a rehabilitation facility. When he got out of rehab, he called me on the way home, told me he was excited to be out and continue with his recovery, therapy sessions, finding a new job, getting away from everyone that was a part of his addiction, especially leaving his girlfriend, who enabled him during his addiction. I know I cannot blame his addiction on her, but she didn't help one little bit. I was excited for him, happy for him to be on his own, to discover who he himself was, by himself. Everything sounded so good. I was relieved to know he's been sober for at least 9 months. He has court-ordered therapy to continue his addiction recovery. He still has to go see his parole officer from being on probation. I was happy to know he's had structured, court-ordered tasks he's needed to do for the first time in 13 years. I had hope for him. S had died from an overdose, so that person wasn't around anymore. Things were looking up. Later that night, the night he got out of rehab, he called me to ask to come out to the bar. "You're at the freaking bar? Please tell me you aren't drinking." That was my response, but he was there with his girlfriend, and he was drunk. I hung up the phone because I was mad about it. The next day I called him and asked him why he wanted to throw away almost a year of sobriety, to which he replied that him and his girlfriend discussed their situation, decided to stay together, and went to the bar to celebrate him being home, and their new outlook on their relationship. This was last June, 10 months ago. Now I get messages and phone calls from people I haven't spoken to in years, all asking, "Hey, is A alright? He just hit me up for $40. Saying he needed to cover his water bill, or his water would be shut off. It's always a utility bill. He lives in a house his mom owns, and she pays all the bills. Don't even get me started on the feelings I have towards her, and the fact that she's given him so much money over the years, only enabling him. He hasn't started ghosting me yet, but that's because I haven't called him out on anything yet. And I know as soon as I do, he will disappear from my circle entirely. I'm literally trying to mentally prepare myself for the day I get a phone call telling me that he's dead. I've distanced myself from him because at this point I've lost any amount of caring empathy I ever had. I've written him off. I don't answer his calls or texts now, but he's still one of the most important people in my life. I just can't allow myself to get close again because it never ends good. I don't know, I just needed to vent. I'm sure when the time comes, I will feel a self-guilt thing because I'm done helping him. I'm done with his POS girlfriend. I'm done with his mother continuously enabling him. The sad part is, if and when he does die, I'm almost 100% sure they will ask me to write and do a eulogy. I won't hold back. I will be honest, and I will never be looked at the same from his family. A person died at my work, and now I'm homeless. I was a manager of a restaurant that is part of a restaurant group. One evening, an elderly customer suffered a medical emergency and died while I was performing life-saving maneuvers. I was not supported by my employer post-incident. Police needed the surveillance footage from our cameras. They would send me a secured link via email. I didn't have access to the surveillance database. My GM tried to extract the data but grew frustrated and suggested the only way I would be able to submit this footage would be to re-watch the footage and record it on my own personal device, my cell phone, which I did, because I didn't want to hinder their report or get in trouble with the police. Watching that footage knocked me out of the high adrenaline state of mind I was in and right into the reality of the situation. The following days, my mental health took a severe dive. I tried to access emergency mental health services and found out my care provider no longer offered those emergency services. My job didn't offer any support. I went back to work after my 2 regularly scheduled days off, and on my second day back, another elderly person was having a medical emergency and was unresponsive, and 911 was called. As I approached the table, I disassociated. I don't remember anything. I was found on the ground inside a walk-in fridge in the kitchen. My GM called me the following day and said, "We, the company, want to give you a week off with pay to do what you need to do to take care of yourself and get help, and we will expect you back at work the next Monday." Well, when I saw my psychiatrist the following day, she deemed me disabled and said I couldn't go back to work until she and a team of doctors said I was okay to. She said I could A, go to a mental health facility for a time with round-the-clock care and supervision, or B, enter into an outpatient program that took up most of the week and have my ability to drive revoked, as well as other terms. I went with the outpatient option. I was on disability for 9 weeks. In that time, I was illegally evicted from my apartment, and my car broke down. I applied for state disability, but they put a hold on it because my employer opened a workers' comp claim. The workers' comp agent was awful and never responded to any of my attempts to contact them. Then I received my denial for workers' comp, and shortly after I received a denial from state disability. I was homeless, carless, and had 0 income and was still recovering from the incidents. I wasn't in a mental state to know how to navigate life or anything that was going on around me. I emptied every account I had to survive. I drained my savings and 2 retirement accounts, as well as my checking. I was staying at a friend's place, but that only lasted about 4 weeks. I eventually became homeless. All my accounts were in default. When I finally met all requirements to be deemed ready to go back to work, I reached out to my boss and explained my current situation and that I had no means to commute to the location I had been managing at, and asked if I could be transferred to one of the 3 establishments that were located within a 5-mile radius of where I was staying. He said no, and good luck. I reached out to his boss and the owner as well to see if I could just pick up some serving shifts. No one ever responded to me. Later, I appealed the initial denial from state disability. When they sent me the appeal packet, I found a document that they sent to my job to fill out. That's where I learned that my GM put incorrect information on this official document that led to me being denied benefits during my temporary disability. Essentially, he said they paid me during the time I requested state disability benefits. The state denied me because they were going off false information given by my GM. I won the appeal. I have another coming. I was telling a friend about all of this, and my friend told me that I should seek legal counsel. I told my friend I didn't think a lawyer would take my case. My friend informed me that my ex-employer did me dirty and that there is a laundry list of illegal stuff that they did. I'm finally in a place mentally to move on with my life. Although I am homeless and still jobless, not for a lack of trying. I'm out of that scary mental place. Is my friend right? Should I pursue this further? How do I even do that? What would pursuing this further look like? Thanks for reading. I know it's super long. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. The guy my ex cheated on me with and got with died, and I feel great. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I'm in no way a psychopath or a sadist. My close friends, in fact, think I'm too much of an empath. But 2 years ago, I suffered the most horrendous breakup ever because of my ex and this guy. I was in a long-term relationship for years with my ex, and then she decided to cheat on me with this dude who knew what he was doing for months and still acted like he knew nothing. I was disrespected, played, hurt, broken down, everything you can imagine. It took me months of therapy to figure everything out. My friends were there for me every day, so I didn't break down or feel like offing myself because of the betrayal and hurt I experienced. Fast forward, I'm living a good life, God bless, with good people around and a goddess of a woman. All I've ever heard about my ex and her dude was either how unstable or how something just wasn't going well for them, and it always reminded me that leaving the whole situation was the best thing that could have happened for me. Now, I very recently found out that degenerate of a human being was found dead in his apartment because he was a drug addict. I kid you not, when I heard the news, I literally couldn't be bothered. The more time passed, the more I felt good, like he deserved it. He deserved every bit of that sad, painful ending. In fact, I really do hope he burns in hell too. And what makes this even better is knowing nothing has ever gone right for my ex ever since she's gotten with him. And that just makes me feel amazing. Slap me if you have to. But it's genuinely a feeling of sweet payback where I didn't even have to lift a finger. It feels so freaking amazing. Karma is real, my guys, and it doesn't disappoint. I just needed to get this off my chest. Good night, everyone. Today is a good day to be alive. Well, at least for some of us. P.S. I've noticed a lot of people are questioning the credibility of this, which I do understand. It's Reddit, after all. Unfortunately, for the same reason this is a throwaway, I will be keeping the details to a minimum. Believe what you think is true, but all I can say is, it is quite true as I'm living it. Also, another to clear out. I'm really not going behind, trying to find any information about my ex. I've long moved on. Information like this gets passed on to me in conversation with people who know both of us. I'd never ever voluntarily care or want to know anything about her, as she is a stranger to me and has been for a long while now. I helped my friend escape abuse, and she destroyed my life. I did not change anyone's name in here, and I'm not trying to hide. I've kept quiet for a long time, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I was trying to protect my peace. I gave someone I once considered a friend every benefit of the doubt. I opened my home, my heart, and my trust. In return, I was disrespected, manipulated, and made to look like the villain. When Chanda came into my life, she was struggling. She told me she had just escaped an emotionally and financially abusive relationship. I didn't know the guy, only what she told me. I helped her file for a protection order and invited her to live with me, so she could have a fresh start. I covered her rent and utilities, supported her emotionally, and offered her space to heal. I brought her into my world, like family. But good intentions don't matter when someone takes advantage of them. Over time, patterns started to emerge. She would ask for help, then complain about how it was given. She said one thing to my face and another behind my back. She crossed boundaries constantly, going into private rooms, using other people's bathrooms, leaving soiled guinea pig bedding in the washer. She claimed to be doing chores or contributing when in reality there were receipts and camera footage proving otherwise. When confronted, she would cry or deflect, or use her trauma to shut the conversation down. It became impossible to address anything without it turning into a meltdown. She gossiped about everyone in the house while pretending to be their friend. She twisted facts and told different versions of events to different people to keep them on her side. She sold explicit content behind her boyfriend's back and laughed about it. She lied about financial contributions, even while I was giving her more breaks than anyone else ever would. And when I reached my breaking point, I made a mistake. I went through her phone. I know that was wrong, but I couldn't handle being lied to anymore. I needed the truth, and I found it. The final straw was when she turned my little sister against me. She told her a secret she had no full context on, something I had kept from my sister because I didn't think it was her business. I admit I hurt my sister by lying and keeping that secret, but that was between us. Chanda's interference destroyed our relationship. My sister doesn't speak to me anymore, and it caused a ripple effect that hurt not only me but another close relationship in her life as well. Toward the end, things escalated beyond words. Chanda's boyfriend screamed in my face, threatened me, and told me he would put his hands on me. He got in my personal space, trying to intimidate me, and I genuinely feared for my safety. And what did Chanda do? She stood there silently or walked around collecting her things, saying nothing. She didn't defend me, de-escalate the situation, or even acknowledge how wrong it was. She told me she was moving out, and for the first time in a long while, I felt relief. I was done. She had hurt me worse than anyone ever had. I'm not sharing this to be petty or vindictive. I'm sharing it because I don't want anything to do with her anymore. If you're a mutual friend or in contact with her, don't update me, don't pass on messages, and don't expect me to be okay with her presence in my life. And if you've read this and still choose to believe her over me, I ask that you unfriend or block me. She doesn't deserve to see me heal, grow, or succeed. Not after everything she did. This is my truth. I have the receipts, the screenshots, and the story. I've been quiet long enough. Edit. Just to clarify a few things. I didn't sleep with my sister's boyfriend or anything like that. This all happened last year around late September to early October. I'm not a doormat. I'm a good person who's been through a lot, and I've taken steps to protect myself. Chanda will never come back here. I got a no trespass order against both her and her boyfriend. Given his record, one wrong move and he's back to jail. Honestly, Chanda isn't capable of much on her own. She constantly needs people to cling to, just like her mother who failed her kids in every possible way. Psychologically, there's a lot of damage there, and what I've shared barely scratches the surface of what she did to me and what went on between us. As for her ex-boyfriend, I plan to reach out to him soon. He doesn't like me much, but I wonder about him often. If she did all this to me, someone she called her best friend, then I can't help but wonder what she did to him too. Edit 2. I know everyone's saying she had a borderline personality disorder or whatever, and that's fair but only an opinion, but they are not professionals, and shouldn't be for diagnosing someone on the internet. She has her issues. Sure, everyone has issues. Everyone has problems. A lot of people are unwell mentally, but it does not excuse her behavior or how she acted towards me and towards other people. I don't go around holding up a sign saying I'm autistic, I have ADHD, and a bunch of other mental illnesses. Treat me differently and treat me with kid gloves. The main issue with her is her lack of communication. She never communicated, and that's what ticked me off the most. My friend was murdered. I don't really know where to start. He was my friend for 32 years. I met him when I was 13. He had a really hard life, even as a child. Yet every single time I've ever seen him, he was smiling. He could have been Thor's body double in that movie. Looks just alike. And he always smiled. You know that song Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd? That was him. That was the type of person that he was. In the 32 years that I knew him, he was never mean to a single girlfriend he ever had. There were times that I was mad at people on his behalf because he wouldn't be mad at them. Instead of getting mad, he'd be like, "Really? Why?" Then he would just talk things out with people. It would end with him hugging somebody and everybody being good again. He was the peacemaker. He was the kind of guy that would come help you move, even if you lived in another state. If he had the means, he would come help you. Take up for your children, always kind to women, always. Never once told a derogatory joke in 32 years. Not once. He never called a woman a bad name. Some men will call a girl the B word or something like that, but he never did. Never once made me feel uncomfortable. On the day that he died, he made several posts to Facebook. One of them said, "Just because someone keeps you around doesn't mean they're choosing you." Another was, "In the end, we all just want someone who chooses us over everyone else. Being kept, but not chosen, is the loneliest place to stand." The worst feeling in the world is when you find out you didn't mean as much to someone as you thought you did, and you look stupid for caring so much. It's easy to find someone to chill with, but it's hard to find someone to build with. Secrets and lies kill relationships. No matter how careful you are, you will get caught. She was the type of person that would sneak around and mess with other guys. She is extremely insecure, so she's always looking for attention. I live by 3 rules. Don't lie to me, don't use me, and if you don't want me around, just leave me alone. A wise man once said, "Never respond to insults." The main purpose of people who insult you is to make you act without thinking, frustrate them with your silence, and shock them with your success. This is how he was the entire time that I knew him. He was way more wise than I am. When I was younger, I was really quick to get angry. He would be my peace. He would just say, "Let's go for a walk. Let's go sit by the river. Let's go have a bonfire." He would just sit and listen to what's wrong, yet he never offered any advice. He just lets you kind of work through it on your own. Somehow, in the presence of his calmness, it kind of made you feel silly for getting so upset about something that seemed trivial after you worked through it. I never cared about the material things someone could give me. I care about time, attention, honesty, loyalty, and effort. Those gifts mean more to me than anything money could buy. For him, this wasn't just the post he made online. This is genuinely how he lived the entire time that I knew him. The most heartbreaking thing that he posted on the day he was killed was, "Please do not put in my obituary that I was loved and adored by all my friends and family, because no, I wasn't." The most heart-wrenching thing was, he really, truly was loved and adored by every person that knew him. He posted those on the day he was murdered by his girlfriend. So that's a little bit about him. Now for a little bit about her. She fought with every boyfriend she's ever had. I'm not talking arguments and things like that. I mean, she physically has attacked every boyfriend she's ever had, violently. She was arrested for aggravated battery on her last boyfriend, busted a wall mirror over his face, arms, and legs. Then she lied and said that he had attacked her. Every time she's ever gotten into trouble for domestic violence, she claims that the man is the one that attacked her. So when she killed my friend, it was no different. In the police report where she was arrested, the officer made a concerted effort to put in that there were no marks on her at all, whatsoever. That she claimed that she had been hit, but she didn't have a single mark on her. Yet he was bloody all over. Except this time when she claimed that it was a domestic violence situation, and that he was a threat to her after she killed him. Everybody came out in force and said, "No, we don't believe you." We all knew that eventually she would kill somebody. We just had no idea that it would be him. She could have taken out anybody else, and it wouldn't have made near the impact on our community as it did when she killed him. So I've known her for 29 years. She's the type of person that will get in your face and make you want to hit her. Then, if you don't hit her, she will get angry, and she will attack you physically. So when she jumps on you and you try to knock her off you, she claims you attacked her. Then she'll pretend to be the victim. Then, as according to the law, it becomes a you said, they said type of situation, when in reality she just straight up attacks somebody. That's how she's always been. So when she said that, there was a fight, nobody believes her. When she killed him, they took her to the police department and they processed her. You know what they do? Bagged her hands, took pictures, took swabs, stuff like that. Questioned her for a very long time. He had called the cops on her before and told them that she was beating him. She had been arrested several times before for attacking him, yet he never laid a hand on her, not once. So she was arrested for domestic violence against him, but he wasn't, because he wouldn't even defend himself. She's used to getting arrested though. She's been in and out of jail for as long as I've known her. One time she was arrested for selling crystal to a cop in her own driveway. Yeah, class act, man. When the cops went into her house, when she tried to sell that cop crystal, they found like weed and H and Suboxone and a bunch of other stuff along with the crystal. So the day that he posted about his obituary, she stabbed him. He bled to death. There are conflicting reports on whether or not she called the police for help, or when and if she called at all. What I do know is she stabbed him, and he didn't call for help. If he would have had his phone, he would have called for help. He had asked other friends, and even his ex-wife, to please come talk to her because she was domestically abusive. He was asking for help anywhere he could find it. So now that I've mentioned his ex-wife, I'll tell you a little bit about his ex-wife. So his ex-wife has been my friend for 29 years as well. When they met, I thought they would be together forever. I was so happy for them. However, she got cancer. Then she did the one thing I'd never expect. She told him that she wanted a divorce because she did not want him to watch her die, that she wanted him to live his life and be happy. To her, that meant not taking care of her while she died of cancer, so she divorced him. He still went to her house all the time, sat with her when she was really sick, took her to the doctor, when she would let him, that is. Most of the time, she just wouldn't let him be around. She did not want him to watch her suffer. She loved him so much that she did not want him to be sad, so she forced him to go on with his life without her. She is currently in remission, but she is still extremely sick, and she relapses and we just don't know. And now that he's been killed, her heart is broken. so we really don't know if she's gonna make it now, because she's so sad. So the girl that stabbed him goes online on Facebook after he dies, and she's saying things like, well, if I was guilty of something, they would have arrested me. She was pushing her claims of it being self-defense. There were hundreds of comments telling her that it was not self-defense. People were telling her that not being arrested did not mean she wasn't guilty. It just meant she had not been arrested yet. So finally, she gets off Facebook, but the last thing she does is 2 days later she posts a picture of her and my friend that she murdered. She posted a picture of her and my dead friend after she killed him. And what struck me about this picture is it's the only picture I've ever seen where he wasn't smiling in 32 years. I sat and I thought about it, and I realized that I had never actually seen him not smile. Through his rough childhood, through being poor, through us, being teenagers with no supervision and walking the streets with no money and everything else. He always had a smile on his face. No matter how hard things were, he smiled through it. She was arrested 4 days ago for manslaughter. I'm really sad that she wasn't arrested for first-degree murder. I guess they think they can't prove intent or premeditation. I personally feel like the prior instances of domestic violence are intent and premeditation. I believe that when she picked up that knife, she made a choice to pick up a deadly weapon. I believe her picking up the deadly weapon was premeditation. I think she should have to pay for that, to the fullest extent of the law. He is by no means the first man that she's ever violently, domestically abused. She's been an abusive person for the 29 years that I've known her. That's why I've never really spent any time around her. Even though she's my other friend's cousin, she's always done hard drugs and drank. She's always been really insecure, so she's attention-seeking and always seeking the attention of men, not in a good way. So she would end up with the type of men that would take advantage of her. All of her relationships were domestically violent. However, she was the only relationship he had ever been in that was domestically violent. I really wish I was good at finding things online. I know somebody that tells me that I can't find things online because I word things weirdly. Maybe I do. I'd like to be able to find more information about her prior arrests and things like that. I'd like to be able to find out, when her preliminary hearing will be. I called the detective overseeing the case sometime last week. He told me I could go to the clerk of court's office and get a copy of every time she's ever been arrested. He said that I could get a copy of every time that the police had been called to his or her house prior to her killing him. I could even get a copy of the record of the night he died. He told me that he thought it would be 6 months before it went to the district attorney. That was last week. And a couple days later, she was arrested for manslaughter. So I don't know if that means the district attorney has already taken the case or not. I don't know if that means that the police are still investigating, and they just have enough evidence to arrest her. She has not been given a bond or bail, so they're holding her without bond and without bail. So apparently that means that they think she is a flight risk, or she's a danger to the community. So it's 4:30 in the morning now. I can't sleep. I'm so unimaginably sad. My heart is broken for his daughter, and his sister, and his mother, for all of his friends beside myself. I'm sitting here waiting for 8 a.m. to roll around, so I can call the district attorney's office. I want to be their first phone call of the day. I want to see if the case has gone to the district attorney's office, or if the detectives are still investigating it. The detectives told me he had a stack of search warrants that he was going to serve. I believe some of the search warrants were for her house, her phone, and her online communications, and things like that. Apparently they found something that was enough to arrest her for manslaughter, so we'll see. I honestly don't know how many people will actually read to the end of this post. Everyone I know is hurting, so I don't have anybody else to talk to. Trying to talk to other people is just going to make them hurt even more than they already are. I couldn't even type this without crying. There's no way I could have this conversation with another person without sobbing. Like ugly sobbing. I hope I can find out what day the trial is on, the preliminary hearings and all things like that. I want to find out when it is, and I want to send the dates to all my other friends. That way we can all go to the courthouse and just pack the courthouse out. That way the judge and the jury can see what an effect this has on the community, so that they can see how much he is loved, and even though he's not here. I don't want them to think that he's not loved because there's nobody there, or because it's just family or something. On his side of the courtroom, I want to fill up the standing room. I want there to be so many people that some of us even have to stand outside. That way when the jury goes to lunch and stuff or they leave for the day, they see us standing outside. I would stand in the rain to be there. The freezing cold rain, I don't care. Even if nobody reads this, it still helps a tiny bit just typing it out. Even if it's just to the void. Update, January 6th. Today is the day of the first court date. Today we will see if she gets bail, and if her charges are upgraded to murder. I feel sick to my stomach. Court is at 1:30 p.m. At least it's supposed to be 75 Fahrenheit, with only a tiny chance of rain today. Still better than cold rain or snow. And that was January 6th of this year, and since then the post has not been updated, so we don't know if the charges have been upgraded or if anything has happened with this case.